Welcome to India Tonight with me, Ankur Mishra, and world leaders have gathered in the French Alps in Evian for the G7 summit. Now, India has a special invitee in the marking its mark at the summit. In its seventh G7 appearance, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is aiming to encourage investment by foreign businesses in infrastructure, semiconductors, renewable energy and digital technology. The highlight of the summit so far has been Prime Minister Narendra Modi's candid conversation with US President Donald Trump during the working session. This chat between the two global leaders is setting the stage for Modi-Trump talks that are scheduled for tomorrow. But before our chat, Times Network's Zakka Jacob actually get us a ground report. Let's go across and listen to what report has been sent on ground.
Today, when the G7 leaders meet, of course, it will be convened by French President Emmanuel Macron. They will have some really weighty and really difficult issues to try and address. Top of the list, of course, will be the Iran war. You heard from President Trump last night as he was meeting President Macron for the bilateral meeting, and he said that, you know, the deal is done. On Friday, J.D. Vance is going to be in Geneva in Switzerland. He's going to be part of the signing ceremony. And that as far as Trump is concerned, this war is pretty much over. He now wants to focus his attention on the Russia-Ukraine war. He had a meeting with President Zelensky last night on the sidelines of the G7 leaders summit. So as far as Trump is concerned, he thinks this is a done deal. But clearly, it is far from a done.
An all-important G7 summit will be in focus, and especially meeting between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Donald Trump. We have seen the glimpse today with the visuals. And to understand this story in detail, we have with us Saurabh Sanyal. Mr. Sanyal, welcome to ET Now. My first question to you is, in the eyes of what is developing between India and US, and we have seen that 99% of the deal is done, and these are the statements which has come from US sides as well. So how significant will be meeting between Narendra Modi as well as Donald Trump tomorrow?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anku, for inviting me on this platform. And good evening to each one of you and all my panelists who are there. So India is, receiving recurring invitations to the G7, which indicates that as the world's most populous country, a major economic power and an influential voice across the global south, India is difficult to be excluded from the global governance. And so is the relationship between India and the US, where the Honorable Prime Minister is going to meet on the sidelines and discuss with Mr. Donald Trump regarding the West Asia crisis, which is the primary agenda. And thereafter, of course, the US trade deal, which is the negotiations are already on. And India is, as it is emerging in the emerging technologies as a world leader. In fact, we are already leading in the digital economy with the largest number of digital transactions, that is more than 20 billion transactions in a month, and 70% of it is in financial transactions. So the major focus in the US-India discussions, of course, AI will be one of the major, and the emerging technologies will be one of the major issues. And of course, the trade barriers which were there earlier between US and India, they will be ironed out. Most of it has already been discussed, and India on the other side is discussion with their counterparts. So I believe this is going to be one of the major discussions, apart from the West Asia crisis, which is, of course, which are the major initiatives which India will be taking as far as the global South peace talks are concerned.
Right. Let's also welcome former Commerce and Industry Secretary Mr. Ajay Dua. Mr. Dua, what expectations India should keep from the meeting which is going to be held between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Donald Trump?
Thank you very much for having me in this discussion. I think we should expect a lot. But when I say a lot, it is compared to what we've been able to achieve in the last 16 months from the US, ever since Prime Minister Modi and President Trump had met in February 2025, soon after he had taken over, his second term had started. I would expect to start with a deal on trade, which has been going on for almost 18 months. We had started negotiating that way back soon after the President Trump's elections he had won, and he had yet not entered the Oval Office. It's for the second time. And for that, I think some signals have already come that the USTR, Mr. Greer, is likely to be dispatched to India by President Trump for a meeting with the Indian Commerce Minister and other officials in the Indian government for a two-day trip, 23rd and 24th of June. That means very next week. So I would think that now the US and India, after these discussions, which will be at the level of ministers, should be in a position early next month, and the two sides will then move towards that direction. Second, I do expect that President Trump and Mr. Modi would agree to a more elaborate meeting, be it in the US or in India. India has already invited, as you know, President Trump. They are hoping that he'll be here for the Quad meeting, which had to be downgraded from a summit then to foreign ministers level, that he'll be able to come. It will be a very good gesture on behalf of President Trump, and also, or otherwise, meeting in Washington or anywhere else in the world, but a full-fledged meeting where the whole strategic relationship which has been built for the last 15 to 20 years can be discussed, and both sides agree to give up whatever might have happened in a, as they say, in annoyance or as a reaction to one another's moves. Those will be kind of subsided, and instead what to do and going forward. And that could mean easily India and the US getting in together in the field of technology, as also greater reliance on the US for India, which was moving in the strategic defense issues towards the US.
Definitely, of course, India-US trade deal is important, but let's not forget G7 is the event which is going on where India is a guest invitee. And from that perspective, I want to understand from you, Mr. Sanyal, what should industries per se expect from event like this?
So as we all are aware that India has been, the domestic market has been rapidly growing, and the manufacturing sectors, the technology sector, their role are very vital to the discussions regarding the global economic stability and supply chain security in G7. So India carries the requisite economic and the diplomatic weight to shape the global governance deliberations. For the G7 engagement with India, it will broaden its conversations across the developing countries. We are also privy to the fact that we have already signed 9 FTAs, out of which France, Germany, Italy, they are already in the EU, which is the mother of deals. Japan has already been executed earlier, and the UK also has been implemented. And we are likely to be finalizing the deal with Canada and of course, subsequently, the trade negotiations are on with the US. So, the industry per se, especially the MSMEs, will have to gain a lot from our India to, after visiting these countries, set up a global supply chain, set up global manufacturing facilities on both the sides, especially the France, Germany, and Italy, where in the SME strength of these countries are also very strong, and a large number of MSMEs from India are already doing business with these countries. So this will give a very big fillip to the government of India, especially in terms of creating global networks and in the sectors of artificial intelligence, in the sector of automation, in the sector of automotive manufacturing, component manufacturing, semiconductor manufacturing, as also defense, which is a very important sector for India today. And it is one of the leading countries in exporting defense equipment to various developing countries, especially the African region, the Indonesian region, Vietnam, and Croatia, etc., etc. So it is going to be very, very important, and especially when Honorable Prime Minister is already there, and he is going to be also talking bilaterally, especially with the US.
Right.
So we expect a lot to happen,
Definitely.
especially for the industry.
Definitely, the expectations are high, and that scenario, Mr. Dua, I want to understand from a trade and commerce point of view, how should India position itself during G7?
And the host nation. Having said that, I would say such summit meetings with such powerful countries, rich countries, provide an occasion to meet the leaders on the sidelines, as they are called in such summit meetings. On the sidelines, Prime Minister Modi is not only meeting President Trump, but he is also likely to meet Mr. Khani. He is also likely to meet the Saudi Arabian representative there, probably the Crown Prince himself. And similarly, he is likely to be able to meet once again, Prime Minister of Japan, who's a permanent member of it. So these meetings on the sidelines give an occasion to very quickly address the urgent issues, bilateral issues, and at the same time, they make the setting for the future elaborate meetings between the heads who get invited and the invitees.
Right, Mr. Dua, point taken, and all eyes will definitely be there on G7 meeting, on not only the main meeting, but also on the one-on-one meetings which India is having with the other nations, and especially India-US trade deal. Mr. Sanyal and Mr. Dua, thank you so much for taking out time and speaking to us with your views, and we'll definitely connect back with you once we also see signs of India-US trade deal and the outcome of G7. But with this, it's time to take a very quick break. Don't go away, a lot coming up on the other side.